Chemo and Merle. People like Chemo and Merle seem to enjoy the fact that they think they can, pretend that the Earth is flat. Sorry, Chris, give me a sec. People like Chemo and Merle like to pretend that the Earth is flat. It's a troll. They get kicks out of it. They like to piss people like you and I off, Chris.
All right,
but
that's your opinion, but the reality is...
It's not, no, Chemo, it's not my opinion.
There are some globe killers.
No, it's reality.
There are some globe killers,
fucking shape of the Earth.
There is a way.
I've dealt with the Chemo, I've dealt with the shape of the Earth in reality.
Now,
I've had the point
rant
is
not going to shut the flat Earth down. Drunken rant.
Hey, look, I told you, I warned you all that Drunk Cypher was coming, and Drunk Cypher it doesn't take any shit. Drunk Cypher is probably one of your...
At the moment, if we're trying to prove we live on...
Drunk Cypher is everyone's nightmare.
Anything. We're literally having a fucking
spinning ball through the vacuum of space.
We're just having a what do you call it? A skirmish.
That is a big deal. Big deal.
Stupidity.
I had to say this, but thank you, Chemo. The drunk guy has been rambling, monologuing for hours, bro. We need to spark this up for a bit, man. You need to spark it up.
Still better than Chemo.
No, Jose's right. I have been rambling. I'll leave it open. I'm going to sit back and listen to the rest of you now.
No, this is your time to shine, Cypher. You're the antidote to Chemo's monologues.
Well, I suppose any drunken...
You're our last hope.
Any drunken globo would be antidote, right? Because we'd have to battle...
Hey, I very rarely drink. Give Drunk Cypher a break. He's pretty fucking cool, this guy.
Yeah, you want to shell out me hometown of Wollongong again, Cypher?
Wollongong is fucking awesome. I love Wollongong.
I don't know. I rather listen to Branch doing whatever he does.
Oh, that's kind of disappointing, Jose. Come on, seriously? Really?
So,
although I will admit, Drunk Branch probably does a better job than Drunk Cypher.
All I'm detecting, Cypher, is, when you're drunk, you're showing how painful it would be to realise the Earth is not a globe. That's what you're doing.
No.
You're like, it just can't be. It just can't be. We've got the globe proof. We've got everything. There's just no way it can be. And unfortunately,
heard this one before.
It can be.
Drunk Cypher just doesn't take shit from people. That's the problem.
It's not about not taking that stuff. It's just simply about what we can prove, what we can demonstrate, and what we can say to be real.
Okay, no, you can say shit. It's okay, mate. We won't blame you for it. We all swear.
Hey, enough of that circle twerk up in here.
Exactly. What we're looking for is a challenge to show that the Earth is not flat, because that's what we observe. That's what is measured. There is no drop from horizontal. So who can challenge the understanding?
So we all just heard Chemo say that the Earth is not flat. Thank you, Chemo. Welcome back to the globe. Good job.
I said, how can you prove that it's not flat? Try to listen. That's why
telecommunications. Communications is how. One of the ways we can do it.
Communications. Well, we know Marconi was able to fire communication signals all the way across the Atlantic, and they told him it will never work because the Earth is curving, and he would have to fire it into the sky or the space. But he said, no, I'm going to go on a boat. And then the signal was able to travel by a flat plane.
Except he bounced it off the atmosphere, which is what he said he was going to do.
That's where you got the invention of the ionosphere, and they made that up. But, that's an ad hoc.
He didn't say he was going to bounce it off the ionosphere. Nice try, Druss.
Nobody invented the ionosphere.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong.
He is wrong.
How can you prove the radio waves bounce? You can't prove literally none of your claims can be proven.
Hey, Percentage, what caliber bullet does an AK-103 take again?
No, you said communications. Now you're changing the subject. How does communications prove?
I'm just trying to call the ISIS warrior Percentage out on his shit.
Yeah, but how does communications prove we're on a ball?
Well,
no, Chemo wants you to talk to him. Unfortunately, he's not going to let you speak to anyone else.
Yeah.
Chemo demands attention whenever he's here. It has to be about him.
Claim, guys. He made a positive claim that they bounce it off the atmosphere.
Right. Yeah, Chemo. What they do is they say they can prove it, and then they just say something else that they can't prove, and then they'll say something else and that they can't prove, and it all leads down to nothing they can prove.
Absolute
to the next
bullshit.
thing, and the next
We just
thing,
went through it with the ionosphere.
Yeah. And then you just jump to the next.
And he did it. He did it with me before. I was asking about an obelisk, and he was talking about the shadows.
Said that he had to redirect the signal from one point to the other. What does redirection mean? You have to redirect it from one point to another.
No,
now, what would that suggest to everyone else?
How does it prove a globe? Why would it work on a flat plane?
You had to redirect. So you point it in one straight line from one point to another, and then you have to redirect it. You have to redirect it. Is why?
Why wouldn't it work on a flat plane?
Because you have to redirect it. Chemo.
Positive claim. Where's the evidence?
All over the place.
Oh, is that the answer?
It all boils down to some more shit they can't
to be
prove.
fair, I just actually want to just correct myself on something. Percentage was right. It wasn't actually a bounce off the atmosphere. They actually raised the antenna up into high altitude using balloons.
Oh shit! So they pointed it at the sky, and then it went back to the ground. Fuck me.
Well, it's the fact that the receiving antenna in Newfoundland, they had a special tube with iron filings to conduct the radio waves, and balloons to lift the antenna as high as possible.
I think it was a kite. But in any case,
so
why would they make
look
the
like
excuse?
it went over the flat plane as Chemo claimed? I was wrong on my assertion, and thank you, Percentage, for correcting me on that.
Trust. If that's the case, then why did they make?
Hold on, Cypher.
Hold on. If that's the case, then why did they make the excuse that it hit the ionosphere?
I was wrong on that particular one. Normally, the way that you get signals to go a long, long way is by bouncing it off the atmosphere. Yeah?
No, you're not the first person to say that about Marconi's thing. That's the excuse given a long time ago.
Yeah, and I'm happy. I hate being wrong, Percentage, and I always admit when I am.
All right, let's move forward.
So you're saying that excuse given is incorrect then? That excuse given by the Globe narrative is incorrect.
For that particular signal on the December the 12th, 1901, it would not be correct to say that they bounced it off the ionosphere. I would agree with you.
Excellent.
Whoopsie.
Wow. So, like I say, they were able to send signals all the way across the flat plane. It wouldn't even work on a ball. Because it would have to go around.
Well, that's why they had to raise the height of the aerial. Because if it was just a flat plane, Chemo, they wouldn't have had to have raised the aerial to altitude to get the signal through.
Not quite true. What if there's too much Hold on. What if there's too much atmospheric turbidity in the way, and you need to get above that, where there's less atmospheric turbidity?
It has absolutely fuck all to do with it.
Yeah, because they did that because they didn't have to. Is that what you're saying? They did that because they didn't have to?
They had to raise it up so they weren't shooting a signal through a high level.
No,
my bad.
No. The point is they had to point the dish up because they had to get it to redirect to the next point. That's why.
I don't know about that.
So we're shooting the radio wave up in the sky. We're shooting the radio wave up in the sky, and it bounces off something and comes back down.
Yep.
Not for the Marconi transmission. No.
Which one are we talking about?
At the moment, I'm discussing the particular point that Chemo brought up, which was the 1901, December the 12th, Marconi successful attempt to transmit radio signals across the Atlantic.
Right, Amy.
That's what that's what we have satellites for. We point the dish right up at the sky.
You're all over the place.
The satellite picks up the signal and then it redirects it to where it needs to go on, the opposite side of the Earth. Well, not the opposite, but beyond the curve.
Let's cut to the chase, Cypher. Show us somebody doing this.
I got a quick question for Druss, real quick. So, this antenna was raised how high?
I don't know yet. I'm trying to find out.
Doesn't know.
They had to raise it up high to get above the atmospheric turbidity.
It's 150 meters.
That's a guess by your point, and a wild guess because you don't understand if atmospheric turbidity has effect on radio waves.
It says kite.
So also you would have to wait for a particular day where just the atmospheric turbidity wasn't a thing. So they did it because they didn't have to.
Always
Is that what you're saying? That they did it? That they did it and they could have just waited? Is that what you're saying?
What you said is nonsense. You said they're going to wait. They would wait for there to be no atmospheric. There's always atmospheric turbidity. You're out of your mind, sir.
Okay, real quick.
Right next to the surface.
matter, actually.
The height of the antenna is 150 meters. This kite-supported antenna. That's what it says. And it says the distance of the transmission was 2,200 miles. Does that support the globe model? Does the globe model support that claim that at 150 meter height you would have a tangential line to a distance of 2,200 miles?
150 meter height, what angle are they pointing the dish towards the sky?
What dish?
Whatever dish. Well, if
they're pointing it to the boat that's on the sea, 2,000.
But they were pointing it
on the ocean, 2,200 miles
in
away.
the air. Which do you know what angle they were
pointing to the horizon, bro?
The angle is important.
The height is 150 meters, and they're pointing to the horizon. And they're getting a transmission 2,200. It doesn't matter.
Towards the sky.
It doesn't matter. They're pointing to the horizon.
It does matter.
It doesn't.
Dross already told you they weren't.
No, the angle
already told you.
Really does matter.
Dross has already conceded this point that they weren't bouncing it off the atmosphere. Right, Dross?
Yeah, he's saying it was direct line of sight communication because the antenna was raised in the air. Well, you're disagreeing with Dross now.
Sight. No, it wasn't direct line of sight. It was angled towards the sky.
That's why I wondered why you were saying whoopsie when we were the ones that were.
You got it 150 meters above the
Drunk
Earth.
Cypher, just take
and
a
then
break for a second.
What angle was their fucking point of origin directed towards the sky? Because that angle would then have to come back down towards whatever the receiving point was.
You don't need that information. It's going to be pointed.
You absolutely do, cunt. Don't fucking tell me you don't, because that is bullshit.
Listen, bro. It's going to be pointed so that 2,000.
No, I'm not listening to you because you claim that you used an AK-103 with a fucking .9 millimeter. You are an ISIS warrior.
It's gonna be okay, Cypher. It's gonna be okay, Cypher. You gotta stop doing the branch thing, man.
Well, just imagine you have the globe model and you have like the tangential line. Just basically 2,200 miles away would be where the horizon, the geometric horizon, would be. Okay, that's all you have to know for this case. The horizon is going to be at 2,200 miles away, and it's going to be 150 meters high. That's the tangential line. So does that support the globe model? 2,200 meters at 150 meter height. Sorry, 2,200 miles at 150 meter height. Where's that crickets thing?
If they were bouncing it off the atmosphere, why didn't they just bounce it from the ground? Why put it way up in the air to bounce it off the atmosphere?
What are you going to bounce it off on the ground?
You can't do that from the ground.
Why not?
No.
Why not?
Because we couldn't until we had fucking dishes and towers. No,
why can you bounce it off?
You're just firing the signal straight into the air.
They couldn't do it back when Marconi did it because they didn't have the towers that we have now.
Listen, you're saying Marconi bounced them off. You're saying Marconi bounced them off the ionosphere.
He bounced it off the ionosphere back to another point that was
with the tower
separate from where he was.
He was on a boat.
No, he didn't have towers. That's what I'm saying.
So why do you need towers today?
He bounced it off the ionosphere back towards another point on the ground. Shut up, Acknowledge. He bounced it off the ionosphere back towards another point on the ground that was behind the curve of where he was originally. That's
first
why.
It bounced off the ionosphere. Then the antenna is so high that it's a straight communication. Direct communication. Then he bounces it off another place on the Earth.
Really that high above the fucking surface of the
Earth?
Earth?
Fucking story, guys.
Changing your story, Cypher.
Fuck off, okay. It's drunk Cypher you're dealing with, not regular Cypher. So please give him a break.
What was the height?
What was
the height of Marconi? What was the height of this Marconi thing?
At what the antenna is 150 meters high.
All right.
150 meters according to Pocahontas.
That is all right.
All right, drunk Cypher's going to shut up now. Sorry, I apologize to the room.
So why did they have 150? Why didn't they just do it like right at the why the big antenna tower?
Because obviously he realized that the higher you raise the antenna, the better range it has.
Exactly.
And if you're bouncing it off the ionosphere, 100 feet really isn't gonna do that much.
Oh, if you're bouncing off the ionosphere, you don't need to raise it at all.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Why?
They did it off a ship in the sea, supposedly. Obviously, you've got to raise it so you can meet the other antenna and meet the other one and meet the other one over a flat plane.
Quick correction, Chemo. They did it to a ship in the ocean. They sent it from
I know a ship was involved in some way.
Yeah.
Chemo, we killed him yesterday in Brandon's. Did you hear it?
No, you didn't.
We killed him. They dropped the screw on the ISS. It fell.
I saw that, yeah.
Then they had an edit. Yeah, it was good. We killed him. We went over that in detail, in depth.
Yeah, that's an oldie and goldie one.
Yeah, you remember when you brought that to my channel, Chemo, and we destroyed you in real time?
Yeah.
Jose, remember last night when you said they added the sound after, and then we found the original footage?
No, I didn't. I never say that. I never say that. I was never on the call. You didn't read any of my comments. I say, play the video after the sound and keep watching. I never say there was no sound. Never.
Oh, I thought Brandon read something off where he said...
Yeah, Brandon says something, and I say, read again. He scrolled back, and I never say there was no sound. I say, yeah, there's a sound, and keep playing after the sound. That's exactly what I typed. I said, nothing fell. There was a sound. Watch after the sound. And I stated, this is an old news. We destroyed it. I mean, we analyzed it in real time. We watched it. We spent a few hours with Chemo when Chemo brought it to my show. So, yeah, it was good to watch you guys just stumble around with it.
We're not Chemo.
Already been there, done that.
And we killed them on it last night. We went over it for an hour last night and we destroyed them.
Oh, I was having a laugh in the chat. You guys did a good job. That was comedy gold, bro.
How do you have such cognitive don't you disbelieve the Apollo mission?
Yes, so
you think NASA's lying? But they can't be lying about the screw dropping on the ground, though. That's your
there was nothing. There was no screw dropping yesterday. You got to be honest to yourself.
A little washer or metal piece. You heard the clink.
Nothing fell. Nothing fell.
We saw that. Hold on, Jose. We heard the clink.
You heard the thing. You saw the guy look down to get himself comfortable to pull the other pin in the bottom. That's it. So you heard a sound. The guy looked down, and then he kept on screwing thing. You know.
Is this where you fundy mute me, Jose?
No, I don't know what that is. Well, is that a dessert fundy?
It's when you talk all over me, so I can't respond.
Oh, and Jose's
nervous. He's nervous. Yeah. So we heard this screw or this washer, something. We heard the thing fall. Then we saw that
you heard a thing. You think something fell.
Come on, Jose. Fundy muting.
You heard a thing. You think something fell. Carry on.
Jose, you're scared.
Nervous.
You think something. You believe something fell when you heard a sound.
Jose,
go ahead.
Shut your whore mouth and listen to the man.
Rattling. He's nervous.
It's okay.
So you heard a sound. You believe something fell. Carry on. If you want to talk about it, you gotta be honest, because you're not gonna. I'm not just gonna let you spew garbage.
Muting. This is the definition of fundy muting.
The nerves.
Okay, so we
you watched a video, you heard a sound, you believe something fell. Go ahead.
We saw the guy unscrew the washer from the wall, or the screw, whatever. We saw the thing fell.
No, you did not see anything. You have to provide evidence that you seen something fell.
The thing was there, and then it wasn't. Okay, the thing was there, and then it wasn't.
Wrong.
Actually true.
Can I just tell the timeline of the events that happened in chronological order?
We've seen that. I seen that video.
Do it honestly.
I'm going to do it honestly.
Okay, make sure you show us the screw.
The guy unscrews the thing.
Make sure you show us the screw falling. You say we saw it falling.
Show us unscrewing it.
Okay, the guy's pulling the thing, whatever he's doing out of the wall. He's
manipulating in the wall.
Yeah, we see the little piece there. Then we see it not there. Then we hear a noise as if it fell.
No, Jeremy. So what he does, look for it. Jeremy, he goes to unscrew it, take it out. He drops it. He looks down. He tries to find it. Realizes, oh, I'm not supposed to be looking around at something dropping. Then he kind of pretends that he doesn't do that, and we all hear it drop. We hear the noise. We see his reaction.
Right. What kind of emotion do you make when you unscrew something?
Then we see a video edit, and the thing reappears after that.
What reappeared?
Magically. The little washer nut or O-ring
No, it
or
didn't
whatever
reappear.
the
What he
It
did
didn't
was
come back, Jeremy. I didn't see that part.
Jeremy, he took it from the bottom one and he put it back in that one because the other one he fell.
Who's making shit up?
Well, I mean, again, we can see that. I don't know where the edit was. I didn't see that.
No, there was an edit. Brandon's gonna do a whole video on this. Let's wait for Brandon.
So Brandon lied to you and you swallowed it. Lovingly.
We'll go over this with Brandon.
At the time, Jeremy, they got the full video up.
It was pure comedy, bro.
At
I
the
watched
time,
the
Jeremy,
whole, like 2 hours in Brandon. It was pure comedy, man.
When this was hot property, they got the entire video so that you could see what happened afterwards. No cuts. It's been shown. You need to get the original.
Yeah, we were watching the original. They spotted the cut.
What did Brandon show after he stopped the video?
And everything, and we'll find out.
What did Brandon show after he stopped the video?
Oh, I don't know. I was at work. I wasn't even watching.
So you're really clued in on this, aren't you?
Big time.
Yeah, you're just sucking Brandon's balls. That's about it.
Well, we'll see when he makes his video.
Yeah. An honest video, I'm sure. Just as honest as everything else that we've heard from him so far.
Brandon is very honest, of course.
Jeremy. You're just telling us the story. No. Shut up, Chemo. Is that all you've got to say on it?
Did you ask me a question?
I asked you, have you actually seen this video, or are you just telling me about what happened last night on Brandon's?
I've seen it. I didn't go over it in depth like those guys did on the show.
Hey, I was listening to Brandon's, and I gotta say, they fucking wrecked Jose. Fucking wrecked him.
You got wrecked.
Why? Why? Because I typed a few things in the YouTube chat, and they just read a few of my comments. That's how they wrecked me, because I was never on the call, bro.
No.
They wrecked him. They wrecked him a new fucking anus.
Look at Branch's avatar.
Fucking crazy. They wrecked him a new anus.
It's
Branch
good that these
is
things
his
are being
avatar.
brought back to light anyway, because they are usually just swept under the carpet. So, you know, if Brandon's looking at it again, then good. Let the public see that NASA is a hoax. There is gravity, supposedly, relative density on the ISS space. On the Earth.
They're not actually where they say they are, yeah.
Not in
That's
space,
the
on
main
the
point
Earth.
of it.
In space, on the Earth. Factories. Studio.
Drunk Cypher is trying so hard not to jump in. I'll stop.
Well, of course you can jump in, but...
No, Drunk Cypher, no, you don't want Drunk Cypher involved in this.
Hey, Drunk Cypher. I called a sober Cypher and you told me that Drunk Cypher was gay.
I never said that.
I do.
You didn't. Sober
I am
Cypher.
impressed by your commitment to ignorance, Jeremy.
Thank you.
So when I see bullshit, and I see bullshit that something looks like a little sketchy on the ISS, I call it out, and you guys know it. But this was so fucking silly, and you guys swallowed it whole. It was good shit, man.
That one went viral. That went viral, Jose. That NASA thing.
Jose, may I ask you a question? Jose, you used to be a flat earther, didn't you?
Not a real one.
Depends on the month. Or his feelings.
I was a flat earther from 2017 to 2010.
He was just a fake flat earther. Once you go flat, you don't go back.
Hang on.
Yeah. Wasn't a real flat earther.
Hang on. Really? Because like I would like to ask Jose now. Jose, are you still a flat earther?
No.
There you go. Once you go flat, you can go back.
No,
apparently, not when you're a real flat earther. If you just say you're a flat earther and you don't know what you're doing, yeah, you can go back. Once you know what's going on and what you're doing, though, you don't go back.
Well, how do you know who's a real flat earther? How do you know who's a real flat earther?
I can tell because if you go back, I can tell you're a real flat earther because if you go back to the globe, then you obviously weren't, because once you are a real flat earther and you understand what 900.
Yeah, but
Jeremy, fake flat earther. People, fake flat earther. Jose, fake flat earther. These guys are not sure about where they live and they follow the consensus. The only reason why Jose, Sean, and Sheepa went back to the globe is for consensus and their real lives.
Let Cypher speak.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can we ask Jose? Wait. Can we just ask Jose why he was a flat earther and why he went back? Let's ask it from him instead of telling him and getting me excuses.
I've already spoken about this many times. I'm not going to repeat myself many times.
I gotta say, I do agree.
I don't know why, Jose, and I'm on your show. I'd like to know.
I'll link you a few videos around, and you can see it for yourself.
May I, Jose? May I give a like just a quick summary? You were given
because I was looking for answers from the flat earthers. I was looking for answers. I wanted to see how flat earth works. I wanted answers from the flat earth camp, and I had any answers. I had all questions. Everything about flat earth was questions. So I had to just be honest with myself and go with the side that had all the answers, which is the globe.
So you would never.
That's why you're not a real flat earther.
Jose,
what you would do is verify what's true. Claim to be true.
Jose, I had you blocked before. I've now unblocked you. You have just given me one of the most honest answers that I've ever heard from any of. I'm not including you in this.
The long-winded,
you are honest. I appreciate that. Good job.
Yeah. Let's go over what he just said.
Back to Jose, Cypher. Now you'll have to take a minute, Cypher, as we focus on Jose's jump from one position.
Jose decided that it wasn't real. He saw the truth.
He let someone else
Jose realized what the reality of fucking things was, and he decided to go, no, this is bullshit.
Dictate what he thinks. Flat
Isn't that what you guys flat earthers do every single day? Come over here asking questions. Well, show it to me and I'll be a glober. If you show me this, you'll be a glober. That's what you guys fucking do every single day, assholes.
That's not what I do.
Well, what I see here is a classic no true Scotsman fallacy that you guys are deploying and rampant dogmatism, right? What you're saying is that once you decide the earth is flat, regardless of any evidence that's presented, you're always going to be a flat earth.
That's not what anybody said. Not one person said that.
He said, once you go flat, you never go back.
Yeah, if you truly
repeatedly that was said.
And look into it yourself and do these things yourself, logically work things out, then you can't go back. Because if you do that logically, there's nothing that can turn you around.
Yeah, once you know the magic trick, it doesn't work on you anymore because you know the trick.
Exactly.
So what you're describing is a situation where new evidence could be presented to you, and regardless of what that new evidence is, you won't change your minds on this. And your minds have been made up by what you said. If you think about it logically, bullshit. You haven't done any of that.
Yeah,
you haven't thought about this logically. You haven't thought about this logically. You haven't measured anything. You haven't done anything.
Hold on. That evidence has not been provided. So as of yet, once you go flat, you don't go back because that evidence does not yet exist. If it did exist, then we would become global earthers.
You guys deny it. That's
the
difference.
Exist.
No, you're in denial.
Everything exists. You guys just deny it.
Having absurd standards for evidence doesn't mean there isn't any evidence. Just means you're absurd.
Exactly. Just because you guys are all denials doesn't mean there's no evidence. It means that you just deny the evidence.
We don't need all this.
Smart people can't create a horizontal measure drop from it over static water. Should be so easy.
Ridiculous.
So you want some men to tell you to do things for you?
No, I want to see the method so I can go and do it myself, Jose.
Hang on, actually,
unlike you would just trust that measurement as true.
Actually, this is actually one thing I wanted to ask you for a fair while.
Try to prove
where do you determine the horizon that you drop from is, Rakia?
It has nothing to do with it. That's an apparent.
It absolutely does.
Physical measurement, horizontal line.
Hang on, no.
Which you haven't done.
Where is the horizon? Where is the horizon that you're determining the drop from?
The horizon has nothing to do with it.
Hey, you're the one that says. No, you are the one that says measure drop from horizontal. Where is the horizon you're measuring the drop from?
Has nothing to do with the horizon, you Momo.
Rakia, Rakia, where is the horizon that you're measuring the drop from?
Why are you talking about the horizon? That's a vision thing. I'm talking about geometry.
No, because you're the one that says, Rakia, measure drop from horizontal. Where is the horizon that you're measuring the drop from?
Measuring drop from horizontal has nothing, zero to do with the horizon.
Where's the horizontal?
See how you keep bringing in horizon? It's because you're brain locked.
Because you're the one that says measure drop from horizontal.
I said nothing about the horizon. Not one thing.
Except you say measure the drop from horizontal. Measure the drop from horizontal. It's right in there. It's right in there. Measure the drop from horizontal.
All right,
so
quit babbling over each other.
That's the geometry.
Is that what you call confounding mirroring,
Kimo?
What Rakia is doing, all you call confounding mirroring, Kimo?
I know, here's the deal. This is one thing you can do. You can view the drop of the horizon from horizontal. So don't tell me you can't do that.
Anything with the horizon. You're wrong.
You can measure the drop in angle. Yes.
That's not Earth curve, curved.
And curved, that's what I'm asking.
I don't care what you say it is. I made a very
simple. You say it is. That's not
You're going to stop over. Hey, Rakia, you're going to stop over talking people. Do you understand that?
I did not overtalk you.
You did.
I did not.
You God damn it. I still haven't fucking finished.
You guys are over talking each other.
No.
So the question that I'd like to ask is, where do you determine the horizontal that you measure the drop from is, Rakia?
You have to create that horizontal.
Can't get anything done in here.
Yeah, it's called geometry.
Yeah, I thought Curb was going to make his point.
Yeah, over talking seems to be what y'all are doing.
I thought Curb was going to make his point, and then Cypher decided to speak instead of Curb.
I apologize.
Well, Curve takes all day. Oh, he's gone now. He'll be back. But Cypher, that was your fault. You don't listen to your other globe earthers talking. Drunk or not?
No, I do. But drunk Cypher doesn't put up with shit.
The problem we have here is that all your proofs are something else that you can't prove, and that leads to something else you can't prove. So you have a big chain. You have a big chain of things that you can't prove, and we're supposed to believe. And you say, "Oh, we were hand wave dismissed the evidence," but in the meantime, it's just a whole list of things you can't prove.
But Jeremy,
your evidence is more shit you can't prove.
There is no proof in anything.
You can't prove anything, Jeremy. You got there's nothing you believe to be true that you can prove to be true to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Jeremy, you have the same problem.
And pretending that that's possible and drawing conclusions when it doesn't happen is ridiculous. You're just kidding yourself.
You're just a man on the internet telling him he's kidding himself. You're not giving him any way to disprove that or to prove it.
So
you're not doing anything but speaking words.
So are you, Rocky?
That's what he's doing, isn't it?
If we were face to face, I could prove a lot of things to you, Jem. Like
he's saying, he's saying, I can't believe this to be true.
No, not in a threatening manner.
He's saying, I can't believe this to be true because it's not been proven to me. I'm saying nothing. No thing at all that he believes to be true has been proven to him. So pretending that that's possible, pretending that, and then drawing a conclusion when it doesn't happen is just silly. It's just delusional.
Pretending you know that about another man is silly and delusional. You're projecting, Jim.
The thing is, you can prove things in reality.
That's an observation.
Hold on a second.
That's literally just an observation there, Rakia. Jem's correct.
What can you prove?
If we were face to face, there's a lot, not in a threatening manner, just if we were face to face, there's a lot of things that I could. Why are you interrupting me?
Because we're not face to face. Cutting off, and this man is clearly talking, and you cut him off.
Because it's irrelevant. We aren't face to face, and he isn't. He doesn't ever say, "Oh, well,
So that gives you the right to cut him off.
He doesn't say the jury's out on this until someone comes to my house and shows me some stuff. He says, "Show it to me here. Demonstrate it to me here." So this isn't.
Said it differently than what you would have said.
This isn't if we were face to face. We're not face to face.
What a biased piece of shit place, man. What are y'all doing? Y'all just complained about cutting people off.
You
and
and
then
Jeremy
gave an
are talking.
excuse. Y'all gave an excuse why you cut someone off. One of your guests.
He made his point. He said,
reality that
if we're face to face, there's no point in continuing that because we're not. Go ahead.
You're saying in reality that we can't prove anything. However, if obviously over the internet that's tough, but if we were face to face, there are things we could prove to each other easily.
Jeremy, give me an example. Give me an example that you can prove to me.
However, as things currently stand, you have drawn conclusions based on the fact that people have not proven things to you over the internet. A medium by which you admit just that you can't do that anyway.
So we can prove. You do agree that we can prove things in reality.
I think it's very difficult. I think there are certain things you could, but
stance has changed in the last 5 minutes
because he lives in fantasy land.
There are certain
he doesn't
things
think anything is a reality.
Well, it depends what you mean. Depends what you mean by prove. I haven't heard it for the last couple of minutes, but the word that Jeremy used a few minutes ago was definitive.
Yeah, we could. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that we could definitively prove if we were in person.
However, we're not in person.
Jeremy, can you prove?
So you agree there are things we could hold on. So you agree there are things we could definitively prove if we were in person to each other?
No, I don't think there's anything at all.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
How would that be crazy?
I'll give an example of this. There's only you could prove like.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't be definitive, would it?
You could say to someone,
that's your demand, and that's the point. You put in place an unreasonable standard of evidence that you don't use anywhere else. But then you pretend that it's reasonable.
I could take my shoe off my foot, place it on the table, and go, "That's my shoe. I can prove it to you." You want to hear Brendan? Let's get Brendan for a shoe hypothesis. However, we could go over. We could touch the shoe. We could feel the shoe. Maybe you could put it on your little feet. There's a lot of stuff we could do with the shoe, and I could definitively prove that is a shoe.
Could be drunk, could be hallucinating, could be dreaming. The room could have been gassed, and we might have passed out. Might be in a coma.
That's crazy.
Well,
shit.
Jeremy, do you have that crazy? Which of those things is not logically possible?
On very unreasonable things. They're going to harp on solipsism and like maybe we're just brains in a vat. Maybe it's
what, you mean like you guys do? Like you guys do with all the evidence that's presented to you? Like that?
Yeah.
That is what we're going to do. You're right.
You are saying sky is magic. So, I mean, who's the unreasonable one?
No, you guys say the sky's magic. We're just saying maybe it's not the magic that you. Maybe we're just saying maybe it's not the magic that you think.
Yes, you do. You say the lights
are
magic.
Holograms and lights in the firmament, and there's water up there. And ISS is a submarine.
Light is a photon and a wave. It behaves this way and that way. It's it goes through things, but it doesn't speed up, and all this other bullshit. It goes faster and slows down, but doesn't speed up or slow down. You guys say a bunch of shit about light. It's magical for you guys.
That's tested. So I mean, you can't argue with that. But
yeah, we can because it's bullshit.
Oh, so double slit experiment is bullshit.
Yeah, well, for your guys' narrative of what light is. Light speeds and slows down. It requires medium like anything else.
Nope.
Go ahead and say no.
Yeah, because it's no. But Jeremy, I had a question for you. How can you prove to me that this is the reality and I'm not sleeping or in a simulation or something like that? Because if you can't prove that,
if we are sleeping, the thing is, if we are sleeping or in a simulation or we're brains in a jar, we're all in the same world. So whatever, if that's the case, then that's the case. It doesn't matter.
Oh, you don't know that.
Exactly. You don't know that it's not definite, but I mean, you have to assume it. You have to assume reality.
No, if we're brains in a jar, and it's me and you face to face, and let's say I kick you in the shin, and you felt the kick, and we're obviously in the same world. I just interacted with you.
You can be an NPC.
Different worlds.
You can be an NPC.
NPC.
You can be an insert into my head. You can be
non-player character. It's a
character in a simulation. So I mean, I can be the only one that exists, and you can just be
a non-player character. What does that mean? Break it down.
You're not that imaginative.
You are not a person.
Where?
Nonsense.
Just created in a simulation. In a simulation.
Mole man, you're not that imaginative.
You're working on autopilot. You don't think for yourself.
I'm not that imaginative because all these different lives and all these different things and languages and everything to invent all of that. You're not that, imaginative. Sorry.
No, I'm the only one who is alive in the simulation. There is a simulator also. There's a outside world.
What? In the computer game?
No, we're just throwing. I mean, we can't prove reality, so we just have ideas about it.
What are you on about?
That you can't prove to me that reality.
This is the time when Kimo plays dumb and he acts like he never heard these terms and these things.
He doesn't have to play dumb, but.
Well, explain yourself.
I said,
he acts, and he repeats himself like he doesn't understand what you're saying when he have heard it 1,000 times.
Kimo, I'm just trying it once more. Kimo, you can't prove to me that reality is reality, so you have to assume it. Reality can be anything.
Because you say so.
Huh? What was the question? I liked out, I guess.
How do you know you're not an NPC?
I can be. Oh, I can be your NPC.
How do you know?
Maybe there are no people. Maybe we're just all NPCs.
Hold on. How do you know, more man, that I didn't create you as that robot to think like that? So you don't know. You'll never know if you're a human or a robot, will you?
Yeah, I won't.
That's what I mean. You can hand over your authority to somebody else because you don't know if you were controlled.
Just like you too.
Well,
I mean, you have a creator. I don't, but you have. You believe that you have a creator. So, I mean, you are literally an NPC, but.
Yeah, because I know what to do, I should be able to enslave you. You won't know if you're coming or going. It could be real, it might not be. So I can take advantage of the fact that you don't know, right?
You can't, because you can't. Come and try to enslave me.
Listen, if we're all NPCs and it's all simulation, then what's true?
If I'm an NPC and I
then what's
listen,
real?
If I'm an NPC, hold on. If I'm an NPC and I go put my shoe on a table and I prove to you it's a shoe, what does it matter if I'm an NPC or not? We've just proven that there's a shoe there.
Yeah, if perception is reality.
Yeah, if an NPC in a GTA 5 game shows you a shoe and says, "Yes, this is a shoe," yeah, it's a shoe. It's not a real one.
Then in the game, there's a shoe there.
Yeah, but then you're relying on an assumption, though, aren't you?
And then you don't know that this is.
You're making an assumption that you are in a game, so you already have a lesser form of proof than you accepted in the beginning, don't you?
No,
he's the one making an assumption we're in a game. I'm saying we're in reality.
Oh, I said that's a possibility that reality is a simulation or whatever.
Yeah, and if the game is all that exists, then that simulation is reality.
For us.
It's not you could still be drunk or hallucinating within the reality.
There's nothing external of it. There's nothing real apart from it. Then it is reality.
Well, if you're accepting that your proof could be an illusion, then you're kind of agreeing with us, aren't you?
Not an illusion though, because there's nothing else.
Well, there is something outside of the simulation, right? There's a reality outside of the simulation. That's what you're accepting.
You're saying now that we're in a simulation and that there's an external thing outside of the simulation.
That's what a simulation is, yeah.
Then you have to prove
isn't it? No, that's what you're saying. That's your hypothetical.
That is what can be.
There's nothing else, then it's not really simulation. Now, is it?
But you just said there was something else. How is the game being waged? How is it played? How is it simulated if there isn't something outside of that?
So if there's nothing outside,
sense, so you need to think a little bit before.
Listen, bro. If there's nothing outside, and you guys are claiming it's a simulation, then
why am I having to repeat myself? You just accepted that there's something outside of the simulation because it's being simulated. It has to be.
There's nothing.
So the simulation is simulating itself. What are you talking about?
There's nothing outside the simulation.
Something outside the simulation, Darkstar, making the rules.
That's not a simulation.
There was nothing outside of the simulation.
So what's causing the simulation to exist then?
There is no simulation.
What is the simulation in the first place? You're the one coming up with it.
I thought you came up with that.
You're simulation. We could still be hallucinating. We could still be hallucinating. We could still be drunk within an objective reality, within a simulation, whatever it may be. So there isn't a way.
Yeah, but how is that a possibility?
What you could be drunk?
No, that you could be thinking simulation.
I don't care about the simulation. I think it's irrelevant.
It's now changed
so let's say the case is we've been slipped acid or we're on shrooms or something, right? We got the shoe on the table. We're all fucked up. We bring other people into the room. We wait 3 days, a week, 2 months, still a shoe on the table. I mean, how long before you think you're not wasted?
Did you do that with your flat earth?
I think
Did you do that? Waited 3 days or 4 days watching the horizon? No, you didn't.
Jem, how long before this is a red herring obfuscation technique by Mo?
I think that, well, it's not. It's not. You're demanding definitive proof, and I think that what you're describing. Hang on. What you're describing. Well, I don't think it is a red herring. Are you saying you're not demanding definitive proof? Because that is quite important.
We're getting off the point of how long before we realize we're not drunk and there actually is a shoe on the table.
Well, I think that you're moving more towards objective truth if you do what you describe. Yes, but I don't think you could ever quite get there.
We can never definitively prove that there's a shoe on the table.
No, I don't think so.
That is fucking insane.
I think you could do it. Way to live. I think you could do it. Well, yes, it is. Why do you live like that? That's the point.
I mean, if you accept that you can't rule out that we're in a simulation, then you'd have to accept that it could be the case that and you're bringing up a stupid example with a shoe on a table, right? But let's just go with it. If you accept that you can't rule out that you're in a simulation, you have to accept the fact that it could be the case that this shoe isn't really on the table and it's just an illusion. And if you accept that, then you are accepting that this proof isn't really a definitive, unimpeachable kind of proof. It's a sort of proof that's fungible. And if that's the case, then it isn't really proof, then is it?
No, but your entire basis is illogical because you're asking us to prove a negative, which requires omnisciency. So it's entirely irrational.
How are we asking you to prove a negative?
He's saying to prove that we're not in a simulation. That's a negative.
No, we're not talking about the simulation.
You don't have to prove about the simulation.
I'm saying you can't. I'm saying you cannot disprove the possibility that you're in a simulation.
Yeah, because we're not omniscient, and there's no evidence to suggest that we are. Now, if you have external evidence of something outside of this supposed simulation, then you might have like some substantiation for your claim. But
the fact that you can't do that is the problem with saying that you have proof.
But until then, we go with the default, which is we have no external evidence that suggests that this is a simulation.
No, the default is that you don't know. So you can't then claim that you have proof that's unfungible, that's forever.
The perception that we have is reality, right? Until you have outside this supposed reality to suggest that this is a simulation and there's an external reality.
Darkstar is correct.
Look, the default
percentage is correct. If we're in a simulation, then it doesn't matter. This whole simulation is real to us.
Sure, but you still claim the kind of proof that you want to claim.
We can prove things within this simulation that are true.
That's a lesser form of proof than you were going over in the first place, isn't it? Because you're claiming this proof is something that's...
It's not a simulation yet until you prove it's a simulation with external reality.
You're missing the point every time.
You can give them the simulation. It doesn't matter. Things are true inside the simulation to us.
But what form of proof is that? Is that not kind of a contingent form of proof? Where you're relying upon it not being a simulation?
Of course it is.
You said it could be a simulation. And I don't.
If it is a simulation,
so then if it is a simulation, then you accept that the proof that you have of this shoe on a table could actually change in a moment, couldn't it? It could not be a shoe on a table the next moment.
Well, until that
because
happens,
you're in a simulation where the rules can all change.
Sure, until that happens, well, we have rules that determine how the physical and natural. Until that shoe changes into something else, it's a shoe.
Yeah,
so it's an uncertain. It's a very uncertain situation, isn't it? There's no certainty in this claim you have, right?
Correct.
Because it's
true. I am certain
it could change any time, couldn't it?
I am certain that until it changes, it is a shoe.
That's not certainty at all.
That is certainly a fact.
So you're saying it could change.
Who's the one talking magic now?
You're saying it could change. So you don't have.
Remember when they said we said the sky was magic, and now who's talking magic?
The physical.
You got shoes changing.
Darkstar is correct. Darkstar is correct. Darkstar is correct. You don't have certainty. It could change. You could find out tomorrow that we live in a simulation.
Sure, it could change. Things could happen, but until then, there's a shoe on the until that shoe changes somehow with your magic that you're trying to now invoke. It's still a shoe.
Jeremy, you do realize.
Jeremy, I love what you say. I love what you say, Jeremy, because until you prove that mass does not attract mass, it does. You can't tell us no.
Incorrect.
It's what it says.
No, you're arguing past the point being made here, Chikey. The point is, Jeremy is now arguing that you don't have to
because
proofs.
No, because
and you're not
Jeremy always asks, what if it's
that?
this and what if it's that? Well, like we said, it can be a simulation. What if it's a simulation? But we agree, until we find it's a simulation, it's not a simulation.
Chikey, every time I start thinking you're smart, you totally
No, I'm not.
You are.
What did he say that wrong?
It's entirely irrelevant. I think we've dragged ourselves into a.
It's like a red herring, I think.
The point is, Jeremy.
You didn't say anything wrong. Everything.
That's not the point, though, is it, Brenda? What we're arguing here is these guys are always after definitive proof. Now, Jeremy is arguing that you don't need that.
No,
that's the point we made it.
Science doesn't prove
Not
things.
saying that.
He's saying he has.
We know that. I'm saying that Jeremy is now hot on our side for the case of this argument. That is the point that is to be made here. Not think about gravity or anything else.
I'm saying definitive proof.
The argument he's making, that is the problem.
You're putting words in Jeremy's mouth. That's not what he's saying.
I'm saying definitive proof. Hold on. Let me tell you. I'm saying definitive proof can exist. You guys are saying it can't exist.
Citation.
Okay, so give us something that you have definitive proof of.
Let's come to my house. We'll put a shoe on the table. I will definitively prove that's a shoe. And boom.
Well, again, I don't think that you can do that. I think that, like I say, we could be hallucinating, we could be drunk.
That's fantasy land, like I said.
There's 101 things. So I don't think that offers definitive proof. But so are you now saying that no one in here is able to offer definitive proof unless we're face to face?
No, we're saying you're living in fantasy land.
Hang on, I really like an answer to that question because I think it's quite important. If you're saying that the only way if you're saying definitive proof can be delivered, but only if we're in a face-to-face situation, I think that's quite important. So is that true or is that not true?
Well, I'm saying that is a way you could definitively prove something is if you are face to face. It'd be a lot easier than over the internet, obviously. However, there are things that I think are definitively true that I know China's definitively China is there.
Okay,
no question in my mind.
Jeremy, you don't understand the point.
Do you have a hallucination?
No, why don't you guys let Jeremy and Jem go through this? You know, damn, this is actually pretty interesting, man.
Yeah, I know definitively that China's there. I've never seen it face to face, but I know it's there.
Okay, so what makes that definitive?
Billions of people's evidence, pictures, photos, billions of people's evidence that live in China, that have been to China. It's clear cut for me that China exists.
Okay, so I mean, I think I'd be inclined to agree with you, but I'm not sure if you really agree with yourself. Because what you're saying. Hang on.
Yo, Jin,
just let me finish my thought. You don't need to fucking speak right now, do you, moron? So I think, I'm not sure if you agree with this because now you're saying that you accept, as I would, a body of evidence for something. You don't need to personally go there. You haven't mentioned scientific experiments or anything establishing the existence of China. I think we agree that if there's a strong body of evidence for something, you can accept that proposition to be true. But like I say, do you agree with that? Because normally, I don't think that would meet your standard for evidence.
We've been through this. I do accept a body of evidence, but when you only got 600 people that claim to go in space and a few people to touch the moon, your space story is very thin. If you had tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that were doing orbits, been to the moon, space travel, then we'd really have something there, and it wouldn't be in question anymore. We could all move on with our lives.
Okay, but on the sort of the wider issue of the shape of the Earth, I think that's established in a a much more, if you like, definitive manner, right? I think the shape of the Earth, to me, it would seem, has a similar body of evidence to the one that you were describing for China.
All that evidence is shaky, though. We got light, and all your measurements are based on very shaky things. Looking at the sky, light bending. That's where we need some definitive shit going on.
Yeah, well, I don't think they are. I think that those are unreasonable and unnecessary objections.
Hence the debate
that you don't bother to make for things like China, and you just make for this, so that you can then say, oh well, there is no evidence.
No, that's why people aren't debating whether China is this, because it seems logical and it just goes along with the narrative. The fantastical things, that's why we're debating that, because there's just not a lot of definitive proof for the fantastic things.
Well, China is fantastic. China is fantastic if you want it to be. It's
just another place.
With a billion
continents of many land masses.
What, with 1 billion people in it, where they eat crickets and rats.
Sure.
Yeah, like you guys are.
I could come up with 101 weird things about China that make it seem unbelievable.
People are eating crickets and rats where I live too.
The thing with China is there's land. The thing with China is there's land. There's people walking around on it. There's water flowing. There's trees blowing in the breeze. Nothing fantastical is happening in China.
Nope.
But now we get to the globe, and you guys are saying very fantastical things.
I don't think we are. I don't think that's true at all. They're supported by a similar body of evidence from multiple different sources, from many thousands of people. Different, like I say, different forms of evidence, measurements, photographs, video.
Can I get a question?
Astronomy, the list is endless that we have to draw upon. Well, you probably can, but it'll probably be moronic. Let's see. We'll score this. We'll give this a moron score for how good this is.
You're already deeming him a moron to let the audience know that
you're poisoning the well.
You're a piece of shit, Jim.
Go ahead, Jim. Let's hear your great question.
You're a fucking moron, Jim.
Right, okay. Have you got this question?
Right, thank you very much.
10 on the
now listen up. Yeah, the question is, what line of questioning are you going through asking about China? Where is this going? That's the question.
No, I brought up China.
Fucking hell, man.
That was stupid. It's about how we establish things to be true, Jim.
China's
why we accept something and why we accept some things to be true and others that we don't accept to be true. What makes one thing true and another thing not?
By billions of people.
If you weren't all trying to talk over me, I might have heard some of that. Fortunately, I didn't.
Mention something, guys.
Go ahead, dude.
So I want to mention that only the Cavendish experiment was done tens of thousands times. Like in every university, it is done every single year, every single semester. The students have to do it, or they don't have to do it, but they do it. So we have tens of thousands, not even, maybe even hundreds of thousands of experiments which provide evidence for a globe Earth.
That's correct, and you can buy a Cavendish experimental setup online on websites that sell things to schools.
Cavendish does not prove a globe Earth. It's moronic.
Mass attracting mass have an effect on other masses.
Yeah,
that is what
you don't think a flat Earth has mass?
And then
you think flat Earth
still
is
mass attracting mass.
Are we accepting?
Would Cavendish work on a flat Earth?
Maybe.
Okay,
no.
There you go. Shut
the
hell
It absolutely could. It
absolutely
could work.
It would work on a flat
Earth. Shut up about improving a globe.
It would work on a flat Earth. Hold on a minute. How would it work on a flat Earth?
If there's a downward force, the Earth was moving upwards at 9.8 meters per second, whatever the magic.
No, that's bullshit.
No.
That wouldn't make Cavendish work. That wouldn't make Cavendish work.
Jim, first we need, if mass would attract mass on a flat Earth, we would need to explain how the Earth is still flat. Because if mass would attract mass, everything with enough mass would be a globe. Because that's how mass works.
Yeah, that's your theory. You haven't even proven that mass does attract mass, first of all.
But can you tell me?
I was almost done.
I didn't want to move on.
Man, I was almost done.
And I didn't want to move on from the claim that Cavendish could work on a flat Earth. How?
I wasn't moving on. I was actually going
right,
through
so can
it,
someone answer?
and you cut me off again.
Right. Shut the fuck up. Stop moaning.
Oh my God. Stop moaning.
How can Cavendish work on a flat Earth? Go.
Well, let's just assume, right? It's a big assumption that your assumption about mass attracting mass is correct, and Cavendish proves that, which is another assumption. We'll put the same experiment on a flat Earth. Would it work? Yeah, there's mass, and if mass attracts mass, then they would attract each other.
Then you would need an explanation why the Earth is still flat. If mass would attract mass, the Earth would not remain flat.
That's another assumption by you.
But what flat earther has ever claimed that the Earth is flat and that gravity works as described?
No.
Nobody's claiming that, are they?
Well, I'm not saying that either.
I mean, when we say the flat Earth, I assume that included the denial of gravity.
Right, that the Earth would be a ball if there was gravity on a flat Earth isn't an assumption. It's a consequence of gravity.
Oh, really? What medium is this Earth, flat Earth, in with gravity? Let's just assume gravity is true. Then you're assuming the medium it's in, right?
No, we're not. No.
Well, you must be if it's shaping into a ball because of a force that you don't know the cause of. Jesus.
This is necessarily the case that if gravity is true, the flat Earth would be a globe because it would pull itself in.
Really? In what medium?
Medium isn't included in the formula for gravity. There's no medium in there.
So it doesn't need to be in a certain medium to shape itself into a sphere.
Just show me where in the formula for gravity that there's a medium.
Just show me where your fantasy world it doesn't include a medium or rotation shaping things in the sphere using gravity.
It's F equals big G M1 M2 over R squared. Where it's not in there.
What all does it include?
She just read it to you.
Yeah, what all does that include? She's smart enough to spout it out. Let her explain it.
You know what those letters mean, right?
Oh, no, go ahead, Brenda. It's on you.
You know what those letters mean?
I have no idea. I'm stupid, remember? A nugget eater.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, go ahead. Explain it. It's hilarious. It's hilarious that you can spout out the formula and you have no clue how to talk about it.
You don't know? M1, M2, mass 1 and mass 2 over R squared. R squared is the radius. Big G is
the radius.
F equals force, right? So there you go.
Which variables did they figure out first and in what order?
Yeah. Where'd you get the radius?
Oh, let's just keep asking
They have
questions
an R
until we
value.
get a don't know, and then we'll claim that nobody knows anything.
Any of those mentioned
were unknown.
You can white knight if you want. It's acceptable.
Well, percentage was white knighting for you after you just got destroyed.
Brenda,
on
you
the
said,
I told her I didn't know a thing. I was a nugget
You can't
eater.
explain it. She gave a perfectly good.
I already
explanation.
admitted
You were
that I
pretty
didn't
much
know.
wrong.
Brenda, you said an
I
R
didn't say you were
value.
destroyed for being wrong. You're destroyed on the claim of that she didn't know.
Right, I'm destroyed. Yet I'm still here. Must be a simulation, right?
Brenda, in mathematics, at any one time, you can only solve for one variable. So which variable did we not know, and we knew all the others?
question was about a medium, and I said that there's no
I know, and I'm responding to it. So which variable was the unknown variable that we solved for?
Can you tell me where medium is in that formula?
I'll answer the question as soon as you answer mine. Which variable was the unknown variable?
No, I'm not going to, because...
Okay, well, fine. I'll answer your question first just to show you how dumb you are. Number one, unknown variable was not little g. Why? Because we measured little g physically. We measured things falling. Things falling fall in a medium. And so that's where it's inherent. Fool.
Cavendish determined little g. Newton's formula is big G.
Oh, really? So we never measured little g? We never measured things falling?
Cavendish determined...
Brenda, that's not correct.
It's not?
Brenda, stop giving us misinformation now. Bob, can you answer percent, being as you know a little bit more about it?
Brenda, why'd you lie to us?
Why would you lie?
We need to go on for 20 minutes.
Isn't the radius.
We need to go
So
on.
it wasn't me that didn't know it was
the
Brenda.
formula for universal
We need to
gravitation.
go on for 20 minutes on how Brenda just lied to us.
And she lied the other day, so that's twice now.
Oh, where's
Why
the
would she lie?
demonstration of her intent to deceive?
Why are you white knighting? We're talking about Brenda lying.
Jeremy,
Being
that's
wrong.
not fair. Like, she gave an honest attempt. She was just wrong. She didn't lie.
Well, let Dr. Bob explain it to
That seems to be good enough for y'all around here.
That was an honest
You don't know what
attempt. It
happened
was a good one.
yesterday, Stack. You don't know what happened yesterday. Relax.
So what happened yesterday?
Oh, I got the big G and little G turned around. I got them turned around. Sorry about that.
You lied again.
Yeah, it's
that's
an
not a
honest
lie.
mistake, which is fine. It's not a lie.
No, she spent 20 minutes calling Jeremy a liar, and then she straight away.
It's definitely a lie.
She told him
Jim
lies.
Pandas is definitely
She
a
would
lie.
never call Jeremy a liar. I don't believe
No, it's
that.
assumed
Why?
to be a lie. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, let's
Why would she
move
do
past
that?
that now. So percent.
I'm not interested in litigating meta stuff, right?
All right, Brenda. Dr. Bob, you said Brenda's wrong. Where is she wrong? How and what is right?
I'm not really interested in litigating meta.
No, Brenda used it. No, Brenda used the term correctly, but it's big G, not little g. She was using it correctly, though.
She said big G.
That's like me saying.
Little G the whole time, though, Bob. That's why she said little G equals that equation.
Yeah, they're trying to litigate.
Big G.
They're trying to litigate something that happened yesterday, and I don't see any point in doing that.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, just
Jeremy,
don't
Jeremy.
play into it. Just go on with your presentation.
Yeah,
You're
just
doing a
carry
very
on.
good job.
Carry on.
Jeremy, yesterday you said that cavitation is sublimation, so you lied yesterday, right?
I didn't even know what cavitation was until Rocky said it yesterday. So why would I say it's?
Yeah, and you
relax
used
then, man?
sublimation, the word sublimation instead of cavitation, so you
never-
were lying, right?
I didn't even know what it was until yesterday. So why would I go making claims on what it is?
You said a wrong word, like Brenda did, so that was a lie, right?
As I was asking what the word was that we were using, relax, Mo, man. Let Brenda continue with her presentation.
Yeah, she didn't lie.
Brenda,
Good.
carry on with your presentation for percent.
I wasn't making a presentation. Rakia said that there needs to be a medium, and I asked him where in that formula it says anything about a medium, and it doesn't.
G.
That's it. G.
Little G.
G isn't a medium.
Little G is the speed of things falling inside the medium of Earth or whatever other medium.
Medium of Earth?
Yeah, inside the atmosphere or inside a vacuum and whatever. The point is, it's little G fluctuates.
It doesn't say that. Where does it say that?
It's inherent in it.
It doesn't
Definitely dependent on the medium.
You don't know what you're trying to say. Percentage.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the medium. It's simply the acceleration due to gravity.
It depends on the medium.
Percentage is right. That number is based on the medium.
Well, we don't know if percent is right. Dr.
It
Bob.
has nothing to do with the medium.
Sounds like there's a correlation between acceleration and terminal velocity, which are two different things.
Here we go.
Definitely has to do with the medium. More dense things
If you let things fall,
it has nothing to do
less
with the
dense
medium.
things fall less fast, slower.
Talk to him.
Little g has nothing to do with the medium.
You're tripping, bro.
How do they measure little? How do they measure it? How do they measure little G?
All they do is they measure the rate that things fall.
Does that depend? Hold on. Dependent on the medium they're in?
No.
No.
It's the
Depending on the
acceleration
mass.
due to gravity.
Fucking
Yeah,
liars.
depending on the mass of the Earth and how
Liars.
far you are away from the center of mass.
Why are they lying, Jeremy? Why are they lying? Why?
Did I cut out there?
A little
would they
bit,
lie?
but
You
yeah, you
just
did,
said
Liz.
things
Hold
don't
on. Why are they lying, Jeremy? What's going on?
Yeah, what's the lie, Jeremy?
He just said, shut up. He just said things don't, things falling. He just said that things falling don't depend on the medium
Acceleration.
they're in.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Because you can calculate little g in a vacuum.
I'll repeat myself. It didn't.
Jeremy,
sink in.
what if you calculate little g in a vacuum?
The vacuum is just atmosphere with less density.
That's the medium.
That's
Terminal
Zach,
velocity and acceleration. They
I'm
are
getting hyped
two
up.
perfect
I'm getting
vacuum,
hyped
so
up.
it's always a medium.
You need to
Alright,
learn that.
what would be the medium in a vacuum?
Depends on
We're gonna.
the
The
pressure of the
point is,
vacuum.
Zach. The point is, we're gonna measure.
What?
We're gonna measure
what?
the rate. The point is, we're gonna measure the rate it falls in a
Come on,
vacuum.
man.
The point Is we're going to measure the rate things fall in a vacuum different from when they fall in other mediums, right? So it is a totally dependent.
you would measure them the exact same way.
Nate,
regardless of
we're going to get different results.
A vacuum is just less dense atmosphere. It's still a medium.
But Nate, when it comes down to looking at
what is the medium within
and
the
the impact on acceleration, isn't one of the main things that we take into account stuff like the drag factor? That's where we're starting to bring the medium into play, surely.
Yeah, that would have nothing to do with whether or not
There's no
they're
perfect
being
vacuum, so
flat.
any fall, any rate is always in a medium.
One second. You guys are forgetting something about this hypothetical, which is that gravity is real and it would form the Earth into a ball, regardless of how much, regardless of what medium is surrounding it.
All right, the thing that's not hypothetical is the rate at which we're going to measure things dropping, dependent on the medium. That is totally dependent on the medium.
Jeremy, how is that going to affect mass coalescing into a sphere?
You're trying to red herring us off of this point of them lying just now, because
that's
the rate at which things fall.
The
rate
point
at
I'm
which
bringing
things fall
up,
are
Jeremy,
totally dependent on the medium that they're in. Because depending on the medium, some things might not fall; they might go up.
Jeremy, let me say this, because this is actually the entire point of the hypothetical. Your medium is a red herring.
Hypotheticals. I'm talking about reality.
Vacuum is the red herring.
Jeremy, we're not talking about reality. We're talking about a hypothetical situation where the Earth is somehow flat and gravity is real.
No, they're trying to red herring off the point that.
No, Jeremy. I think you and every other flat earther in here is incapable of honestly engaging in a hypothetical.
And why are you introducing other variables?
Other variables like things falling dependent on the medium that they're in, the rate at which things fall. That's not a variable.
Yeah, drag and buoyancy. Drag and buoyancy are additional. Drag and buoyancy are additional variables. Acceleration is what we're talking about here.
Your man just said that it doesn't matter what medium they're in. We still measure
acceleration is what we're talking about here.
Yeah, things are going to accelerate differently downwards.
The medium don't matter.
So you're introducing additional variables. So you're introducing. Jeremy, you are introducing additional variables. Again, Jeremy, you are introducing additional variables by adding drag and buoyancy.
We just said the medium don't matter. Does it matter or not?
Not the acceleration.
You're going to measure the different rate on the medium?
Yeah, that's where we start to bring in the other factors, Jeremy,
medium
like
matters.
drag.
Thank you.
So when we're talking about the raw acceleration, when we're looking at that formula, the medium is not involved in it.
You can't get rid of drag in reality.
In the real world, we start to look at those factors and we incorporate things like drag coefficients.
Yeah, but you can't get rid of drag because there's no perfect vacuum. So every single medium that you use,
I don't give a fuck about your whining that just because I've got one potential gas molecule in a vacuum chamber, that's suddenly going to butt up against something and change its velocity. Fuck off.
Look at that. You have to limit it to something ridiculous.
It is a ridiculous level of semantics, which is below the tolerance level of our instrumentation to fucking
when do you have one gas molecule in an entire vacuum chamber?
Okay,
go ahead.
You show me how you would measure the change in velocity in a vacuum chamber between 10 to the minus 6 and 10 to the minus 8.
Druss, are you trying?
The reality is that's an air chamber, just with less air.
Druss, are you trying to have a conversation about a hypothetical flat Earth where gravity is somehow real, or are you even aware that conversation is happening?
No, I'm just I'm fed up with percentages, pedanticness.
Oh my god, dude! Well,
which things fall does not relate.
Druss, none of this is actually that big of a deal. And I think you're working yourself up needlessly, and it's actually more frustrating for everybody in here listening.
Thank you. I'm glad I paused to listen to you there, Lewis, rather than knee-jerkingly responding. I appreciate it, and I will back off.
The whole point of this hypothetical is to explain how it would be possible for gravity to be real on a flat Earth, because that was put forward by Rakia. I mean, and this isn't even that important of a conversation, but if we're going to have that conversation, What the hell does drag have to do with anything?
Fuck all. And I didn't hear the beginning of the conversation. I was commenting on the specific point, and that's why I thought about it and thought, yeah, you're bang on the fucking money, mate. Thank you.
Okay, everyone.
The point is, things will accelerate at different. Sorry, go ahead.
Stop introducing extra variables.
And learn
The
the,
point
difference,
is,
and learn the difference between acceleration and terminal velocity.
the point is, things will accelerate at different rates depending
I
on the
think
medium.
at a certain
That's
point
how
we just
measure
have
it.
to realize that Jeremy is not capable of thinking about this hypothetical.
You guys are fucking stupid.
Yeah, that's true.
You guys think medium has nothing to do with the rate at which things fall? You guys are fucking stupid.
How much of a difference? Druss did actually make a good point.
Big difference.
Stop your
because-
bitching.
A huge difference, because sometimes the medium will make things not fall. It'll make things go up.
Again, you're introducing extra variables that are not part of this conversation.
The medium is the variable we're talking about. Why you keep saying I'm introducing new variables when that's the variable we are talking about?
Jeremy,
The
without the medium,
acceleration
do things fall
is what we're
the same rate?
talking about.
Yeah, acceleration. That changes with the medium. Do you deny that?
The addition of a thicker medium is absolutely extra variables that we do not need to account for right now in this conversation.
That's what the whole conversation is about. That
acceleration.
Cherry pick, just trying to cherry pick.
But Jeremy, well, I mean, how would you factor the medium into it, bro? Like if you had to calculate small g, how would you factor the medium, you know, that this thing is falling through into your calculations and your measurement?
How would we calculate it? I would just measure it. Why do you need to
You
calculate
would
it?
measure what?
You can measure
What
it,
would
the
you
rate
measure?
at which the rate at which things fall or rise in different
Yeah, but
mediums.
how do you account for the medium affecting the rate at which it falls?
How do we account for it? Well,
Yeah,
if-
because
if
you
the things-
saying we should account for it. You saying that whatever formula we have, the medium that this thing is falling through should be in there, right? We should factor in the medium. So how do we do that?
No, I'm just saying. My whole point is that the
Oh, I
medium
can answer
definitely
that.
affects. Go ahead.
Yeah,
So I would set up a classification system based off of, you know, some sort of standard, just like we do with the periodic table of elements. You know, we did it off a standard of like carbon, right? I would do it with some sort of weight in this specific pressure, this specific density of medium, and then that would be the standard.
You already said weight, so I mean this is kind of moot.
We
So,
have a
weight,
calculation
as
for
in an object of density, an object that has force, right?
So you would weigh the force the medium has on this object, considering that the medium might be made of more than one type of element or molecule. Like,
all that matters is the density.
I mean, air
of
isn't
the
just made
object
of
and
oxygen,
the density of the
right?
medium. That's all that matters. The density of the object and the density of the medium. So you take both of those, right, and that'll be your standard. So let's say we have the density of 1 for like the, you know, the atmosphere, the medium, and then we have a density of 5 for the object, right? And that right there is the standard. You measure that, and then all other things are based off of the, like, you know, they'll be based off of that standard.
But what happens now when I use the same thing and I get different results in different locations? Because now we have a standard for the medium. So no, hang on. We have a standard for the medium. So the medium for air is always 1. So no matter where I measure little g or calculate it on the surface of Earth, the medium I should use for the atmosphere is 1. But whenever we do these calculations, we get different values for little g. For example, the value for little g at the poles is always higher than the value we have at the equator. How would this work with standards, with constants like 1 for the atmosphere all over the world?
I'm not saying use the 1 for the atmosphere all over the world. I'm saying
no, but you are saying we should have a constant. There should be a constant. Whether the constant is 1, 5, 10, 6, 32, it doesn't matter. Whenever we do the measurement and we're factoring the medium, we're going to use the same value whether we're in Timbuktu or California, because it's the same atmosphere. It's the same type of medium.
So don't confuse.
So if we use the same type of medium and I use a ball, right? I use a rubber ball that weighs the same. Wherever I do this calculation, because it's in the same medium and I'm using the same object, I should be getting the same results according to your methodology, but I don't.
All the variables are the same, yes. And again, like, don't focus on just having the same value of the medium. It's what's important here is the relationship between the two. So like the proportion, the ratio, if you will, of the object.
But the ratio is going to be the same if I'm in the same atmosphere, dropping the same rubber ball, right? Why would it change?
How do you know you don't get the same results? This is just a hypothetical, correct?
It should be the same if no other variables are changed. Yes.
We've measured little g all over the world, and we get different results depending on where you are. So how does percentage methodology work?
I'm saying, again, it should be the same unless there's other variables at play, right? So,
all right, what other variables now? Because you guys want to add more. We've added the atmosphere.
No, but we haven't, though.
I proved that
you
using
guys are the ones that are claiming
You're the one who said there's more variables.
No. Percentage said there's more variables.
Yes. That's why you get different measurements of little g.
Percentage and Jeremy are the ones saying we need to factor in the medium it's in. Now, when we factor in the medium, it doesn't work
already.
All of a sudden, when the medium stops working,
always.
You guys want to bring in other variables. So, what other variables do you want to bring in?
Stack. If you don't,
Nate. Sorry, Jeremy, real quick. Nate, we're not disagreeing on the effect. The medium is already taken into play when they measure, with a gravimeter or whatever they use. When they're measuring the rate with which
when they calculate little g, they don't factor in the medium.
They do though. They don't
factor in the medium.
They don't realize it. The thing is falling in a medium, and this object that's falling has density, and they're measuring that, so it's all inclusive. It's inherent in it.
It's not inclusive at all. They don't factor in the medium.
You can't get away from
it. You guys are making the claim that they factor in the medium. So I'm asking you, how would they do it? And you gave me this weird, example where you
don't consciously factor in the medium, but whenever you measure something falling, whenever you measure the rate of fall for anything, you're factoring in the medium.
Why?
The medium through which it's falling from. All the time. You can't escape that.
Why and how?
Because we have no non-medium. We have no perfect vacuum. So even if you increase the vacuum to 10 times, like 1 times 10 to the negative 17 or whatever, you're still in a medium. You're still in air, just very, very less dense air.
Yeah.
And you'll notice if you
saying doesn't add up, though.
Hold up, you notice if you keep dropping the same object and you pump in more and more air, more density, more gas or whatever, it's going to fall at slower speeds.
Percentage, they don't factor in the medium, bro. They don't.
They do it inherently.
You can't even show me a calculation of little g where the medium is factored in. Now, when I call you out on this,
we have little g
you come up with this story that hang on, bro. I let you speak. So when I call you out on that, you come up with these two, weird answers. Number one, they factor in the medium subconsciously without thinking about it. I don't know how you do that, indirectly or whatever. I don't know how you do that. And number two, when I ask you how do you go about factoring it in, you give me these constants. Now, little g is not a constant. Big G is a constant. Little g changes depending on your location. So how would it change depending on my location if I'm using your methodology where the constant for the atmosphere is always the same and the constant for the object falling is always the same if I use the same object? Why am I getting different values based on my location?
I got you. Okay, so there's two things. Right. Number one, in terms of us inadvertently or indirectly accounting for the medium, that's just the nature of measuring anything fall. We're indirectly doing it because, again, the medium is inherent in that test, right? We were dropping it through a medium.
That's not true.
And more importantly, we should focus on the densities of the object and the density of the medium. Whenever you're measuring something, those two things are inherent in it. So we get a speed at which it's falling, but inherent in that is the medium, the densities of these two things, the object and the medium. Secondly, if we're gonna try to invent or create a convention of how to account for it consciously and directly, then I think brainstorming the smartest way would probably to create a standard, to create a convention.
You're not even sure what to say, are you?
No, for real. We have a convention for everything else. We can create a convention for these objects.
I can hear your brain working as you say these things, bro. You're not sure.
Density percentage.
You're literally making this stuff up on the spot. Nobody factors in the medium when calculating little g. It's never been done. I've never seen it done. If you've seen it done, show it to us. but I've never seen a calculation or an equation for little g that factors in the medium. I've never seen that in my life.
Little g is
Have you, percentage?
Oh, come on, man. You have to understand. Little g includes the medium. That's why
little g includes the medium.
That's why it's agreed upon average. It's a convention because they measure it in different areas and stuff, and it fluctuates. And so they took one fucking value for it. They've never once calculated.
Yeah.
They only
but what creates the difference in the measurements percentage? Variables. Why whenever you measure little g in different places, you get different, results if it's all in the same medium?
Because it's not the same medium. If it's different areas, it's different densities, different, there's different variables of pressure and whatever, and temperature, which creates different densities in those atmospheres.
Yeah, percentage.
So how would you make that measurement percentage to the accuracy level that you need?
That's what I'm saying. Then you'd have to have like a.
No, I'm asking you a question. I'm not asking you to ask me a question. I asked that question. How would you
not asking you a question. I'm
make
answering
that measurement to the accuracy that you need?
Okay, so again, you would take like a specific something that you've deemed as the standard, and you would measure it and create get the proportion for this density of object and medium, and you would just create a convention around that. Create a system
but that's not accounting for all variables. What if it's a hotter day or a colder day?
What?
What if the temperature varies?
Oh, pressure.
That's why when you're doing this, creating the standard, you would keep the variables.
No, I'm talking about how would you make the accurate measurement and take all of these variables into account?
Temperature affects the density.
How they're affecting your measurement.
Density is affected by the temperature. So if you set it to a specific thing, that means that you've obviously,
But that means you need some sort of scalar value to put to that.
That's what I'm saying. You make that, you create a standard. That is the scale of value.
But percentage,
and how would
what
you
is
create
that?
that scale of value when we've got an atmosphere that's changing minutely all the time, and your requirement is that we have.
Yeah, that's a problem, ain't it? Same problem that y'all have with your measurements.
I'm saying that it actually doesn't really affect our measurements in the real world. Percentage is. So I'm trying to determine how he's taking account for that, come up with some sort of reasonable method. Because I think what we're going to do is we're going to end up with
your measurements that are made in the atmosphere, just the ones that we would be doing.
Let me make it clear. Let me make this clear. This is a red herring. Having to directly, come up with a convention of what G value is a red herring, because we do that every single time we measure the thing. Okay, but if you want to have a value, a specific value we already have a value which is an agreed upon value. That's all it needs to be, an agreed upon value where everyone's working off the same system, the same standard. That's what we have, right?
Based on observation.
Yeah, it's based off observation, but it fluctuates due to the density.
Yeah, but percentage. There's also a formula that we've now derived that can be used, and it's pretty accurate. You can use this formula on any planet, anywhere on the surface of the Earth, and you're going to get little g. So obviously, measuring is the most accurate, but there is a formula behind it, that we've come up with after that can get you to little g. Now, I think Russ's question is, how do you factor the medium into this formula or into any measurement?
Again, the formula has little g in it, which has the medium factored in. Obviously, if it's accurate, it's
no. The formula is to find little g. Little g isn't in the formula. We're trying to find little g using a formula. So, are you saying the formula has the medium in it?
Little g is in the formula, bro.
No, the formula.
We don't need a formula for the rate at which
we have a formula for little g. Little g can't be in the formula if the formula is for little g.
How do you think they came up with
that? So now my question is, there's a formula for little g. Didn't you know this?
This is going back to my question that I had for Brenda. Which variable did they solve for first? They didn't solve for little g through unknown variables. They used little g, they measured it, they used it to solve for the other ones, and then they solved for little g. The agreed value.
I measured it. It's measurable.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, they didn't solve for little g.
Is within the formula of little g, but they had to measure little g first before they came up with the formula for it. They came up with the formula way later. We measured it long before we had a formula, but now we do have a formula, and within that formula is g, big G, and the mass of the object, and then d squared.
You're agreeing with me, bro.
Where's the medium in all of this?
Yeah, no.
Very quickly, just to address the point that Jeremy made, very briefly.
So they measured the little g, and they use that to figure out big G. They use that to plug in their variables that they made up.
I think there's an impasse. They didn't make them up. So I just want to ask Jeremy a quick. I'll make a point to Jeremy. Jeremy, the reason that it's good to have these formulas is it means we can be predictive. That means that when I design a parachute, you don't break your legs.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm just saying you don't need a formula for it because we can measure what happens in the different mediums, and the rate at which things fall is.
Yep.
Hold on.
Sorry.
The rate at which things fall is different for every medium. So your formula doesn't mean shit when I put something in a medium and it goes up.
So let's go and do this parachute test. Then I'm going to start off with something about the size of a napkin, and we'll work up from there. And we'll judge our success on the number of broken bones you get. Or would you like me to use a formula to get a bit closer?
Do you think they use the formula, or do they actually try it before they?
No, the way they design parachutes now is they have a formula allowing them to calculate the drag coefficient, which gives you your rate of descent.
All right, great. That doesn't change the fact that things.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying that doesn't change the fact that things fall at different rates depending on which medium you're in.
Again, we don't disagree with that. No, but again, that goes back to as percentage density objects, as I keep saying, the drag coefficient. Because if you have two objects, even if they got different weights, but they got the same drag coefficient, they'll fall at the same speed.
Sí, señor. It's far.
Just thought I'd fucking point that out, mate. So, But what do I know? I'm only a fucking strawberry picker.
Those two things will have different terminal velocities, though.
That is true.
Well, I mean, we need strawberry. I love strawberries.
Me too. That's why he's picking.
They're delicious. Listen, what's a post? Someone that's pretending to be a flat earther and they're not?
No, it's somebody. You literally can't tell the difference between somebody that's ridiculous and somebody that's pretending to be ridiculous. That's what a po is.
Percentage. They think you're pretending.
I don't know about that. Percentage is
they're calling you out.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, they're calling you out. Percentage. They're saying you're pretending to be ridiculous and you're not actually ridiculous.
No,
this
Jeremy,
seems like
you totally misunderstood what I just said. It means we can't tell the difference between somebody who is ridiculous and somebody who is just pretending. That is what a po is. Somebody that we can't tell the difference.
Well, that doesn't sound nice because either way, it's not.
It's not a nice thing to be a po.
Hang on. With that, I'd like to point out that Percentage is the one that said he, was a sniper with an AK-103 that didn't even know the fucking caliber of the gun that he was quoting. Now, this
you liar! I never once said I was a sniper. I said I've sniped.
You fucking did. We've got the recording of it. You said you were a sniper that was issued an AK-103. You got the fucking caliber wrong, and you fucking then went on to say that don't worry about it. When I questioned you on which army issued you that fucking gun.
Yeah, I
the only fucking country that would have issued you that gun. No, shut the fuck up. The only country that would have issued you that gun was the 5 that I mentioned and ISIS. So you're either an ISIS fucking warrior or a fucking liar.
If I was ISIS,
I know which one I'm going with.
Settle down. Stop saying that word.
Wait,
which word?
Were you in the military?
You want me to say it again?
Hey guys, you guys got to give.
Which word, Jeremy? Which word did I fuck up on?
Give Percentage some slack, all right? He saw combat.
No.
He's a veteran. Okay, he said he saw combat. He's a veteran. You guys, thank him for your freedom.
I want to ask one question. What branch were you in?
He was in a branch that issues AK weapons, and not the Israeli variant either.
Wait,
so definitely not Israel.
Percentage. What branch were you in?
Well, Israel don't use AKs, so that would be first. They use Galils. But
you guys are not. You guys are you don't know what you're talking about.
Percentage. What branch?
Yeah, let's not talk about the individual B-ball for live. Let's focus on.
No, I want to know since he says he was in the military.
Yeah, you can private message him. You can private.
He saw combat. Okay, B-ball. Look, he saw. He said he was in combat.
Private message him B-ball for live.
That's cool. I was in combat too.
All right, but we're talking about the shape of the earth, not. Yeah, just message him.
Don't get it twisted. I'm not in the American military. Or I wasn't in the American.
Oh, you weren't in the military? Okay.
He wasn't in any official government military. He was in.
That's a lie.
Probably a fucking mercenary bullshit.
Yeah, he was Rambo.
So any flat earther can someone define density? Can you define density because that's your cause?
I think you're a liar, personally.
We know that he is a liar, but
that's fine. You guys are free to your own opinions.
So any idea on what density is?
Why you want to play word games, small man?
So you said that that's your cause. So I mean, you ask G about G from us. So I mean, I want to know what density is.
Isn't that like when your teeth are broken and you get them fixed?
Density?
Yeah, that was funny.
Oh no, that was dentistry. No.
That was funny.
Do you have big D or little D?
Yeah. Do you take the D? Yeah, I think it should be defined for it to be a cause. I mean, you can't do science really without it.
Well, I've asked this question before and I've never really got a satisfying answer. We've got Jin's view that it's a natural law made by the creator and that's why it happens is about the best answer I've ever had.
I would say density is probably. I would say density is like, you have a volume, and then depending on how tightly packed the particle, the space in between the particles inside that volume, if there's more space, it'll be less dense.
But I think the question here really that someone's trying to ask is, if you're invoking density as the reason why things go up or down, then we need to understand the cause of that. Saying that its density doesn't describe what the cause is. Because
the density and the cause is the density of relation of the item to the medium that it's in.
How does that cause?
And it's not what we're claiming. We've proven it scientifically.
Jeremy, how does that cause a force? Because for things to move, they need to have a force, right?
Yeah, there we go. That's what happens.
So the problem that I've got with this is it's not very descriptive because as soon as we get into gases, your density model falls to pieces.
Yeah, gases don't apply to relative density. Obviously,
well,
they go in all directions.
No. But I've had other flat earthers, including Sleeping Warrior, the founding creator of density equilibrium, say that it does. So who's right?
I would say I'm right.
Okay,
why? You would
not because gases don't apply to relative density because when gases move in all directions, so they're going up and down simultaneously. How does that fit into relative density?
Jeremy, why does the helium balloon go up?
Hold on. How does their movement? How is relative density Dixie equilibrium? Where is the movement in that formula?
It's not what formula?
Well,
what we observe in reality.
If an object is in motion, how does that change its density?
Jeremy, it's Newton's second law. In order to cause motion, we need a force. So
you guys are on a roll of dumb shit you've said in the past 10 seconds. Keep it going.
You're on a roll of dumb shit for the past 2 years. So go.
Well, there's a point I'd just like to introduce here, just before we get into the buoyancy thing. I mean, I can take some gases which are heavier than air, and they'll sink. And if I've got a basement, that gas will flow into that basement and displace the lighter gases that are there. So to say that gases aren't affected by buoyancy is wrong, because we can demonstrate that really, really easily.
Well, relative density would dictate that the gas falls on the ground and just sits there, but it doesn't, does it? It goes up and sideways and all over the place.
If I get a really heavy gas, no, it doesn't. It'll stay there.
It falls on the floor and just stands.
That's why mustard gas was so deadly, is because it didn't go everywhere. It flowed along the ground into the trenches, and people died from it. And they used the property of the density, the heavier than air property of that gas to have that effect.
So this gas that you're talking about, they dropped it and it fell and just laid still on the floor, or did it keep moving around, going up and down a little bit, sideways?
It kind of got mushed about a little bit by the wind. It is a gas after all, but it didn't go up. It went down to the ground and like flowed along the ground, wisps it, maybe stirred up by breezes into the trenches where people, died like a fog. But it's gas. It's not a fog.
Right, but it didn't just fall on the ground and just lay there. It kept going down, up, down, sideways, up, down, all directions.
It reached its point of equilibrium, and then it started to flow from the force of gravity to its lowest point of energy. Yes.
So you're on Riley's side that gases are affected by relative density. That's fine.
I think, but then again, no, because the point that I made to Anthony Riley, which I've made to you, if that's the case, space is less dense than our atmosphere. Yet when we do that theoretical experiment with a vacuum chamber, the air wants to rush in.
Yeah, it's entropy.
Which doesn't fit with your relative density.
That's the law. It's the
Jeremy,
law.
You don't get both. You don't get.
I don't get relative density. Sorry,
Jeremy. It doesn't. That's not how things are. So those are two opposite things. Your relative density argument and your entropy argument are literally opposite. So you need to somehow fucking make them work together, because they don't.
So relative density doesn't work with entropy?
No, your arguments, the way you're using them, don't work together.
How so?
If gas expands to all points within a container, where does the relative density disequilibrium cause the gases to fall?
I told you I'm not advocating that gases are in accordance with relative density. Druss is. You should take that up with Druss.
And yet we see that there are gases that are more dense than air, and there are gases that are less dense than air, that either pool at the bottom or float at the top.
Okay.
So how is that possible if you have entropy, in which states that gases will try to fill the available volume? The entire
Are you
volume.
denying entropy? Are you denying entropy?
You're avoiding what I just said on purpose. So you
all
can't
right, what was your question?
You can't have, if you have relative density, where things that order themselves according to their densities and whatnot, right? And then objects within those particular densities will displace those densities at some kind of a rate, which causes them to fall through the densities or to float up through the densities, either way. Where in that can you have entropy, which states that things like gases, when introduced into a space, will fill that available space, every nook and cranny, all over?
Because gases don't go under relative density. They go in all directions.
They clearly do.
So there's a special density, a special relative density?
No, there's just one relative
general
density.
Relative density?
No, this isn't Einstein's made up nonsensical bullshit. This is real life shit.
No, this is flat Earth made up nonsensical bullshit. Okay, I got it.
No, this is real life shit. I don't know what.
Jeremy, so which is it? Gases do and have been shown, it's demonstrable that there are heavy gases.
Okay.
That fall and pool around towards the bottom. And there are lighter gases that float and stay up towards whatever the up is. Right?
Can you make this a little bit more concise? I didn't even get you talk so slow. Speed it up a little bit.
Some gases rise.
You said some gases fall and some gases rise?
Yes.
Yeah.
In a container?
Yes.
And then over, so what?
Mind if I take a quick stab at this?
Only if you use a blunt knife.
All right, I shall. I'll
Butter
use a
knife.
spoon so it hurts more. Jeremy, let's take a closed container. We're going to put two gases in it. We're going to put in sodium hexafluoride, which is a very heavy gas, and we're going to put helium in it, right?
Yeah.
Now, under entropy, the helium should expand to fill all the available space in that container, right? Yes or no?
Sure. Yeah,
and the sodium hexafluoride should also fill all the available space in that container. Yes or no?
Yeah, that's what entropy says, right?
Correct. Why does the helium go to the top and the sodium hexafluoride go to the bottom of the container?
So
they
there's a clear cut layer. We could draw a line along the fish tank. And
Correct.
Say, all right, above this line there's helium, below this line sodium hexafluoride.
Okay, so how's that work?
Is it gonna stay like that forever?
Yeah. So how's that work?
Until the helium leaks out, because it's a very hard gas to contain.
Well, we were saying closed container, but all right. So that is gases conforming. That would be gases conforming to relative density. I guess I was wrong.
No, it wouldn't.
All right. Would it be gases conforming to entropy?
There's a picture of it in the chat.
Yep. So you think about that for a little while, Jeremy, and realize why that destroys your entire argument about relative density and entropy. Okay? Thanks, guys.
Why, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with it? Hold on, don't just walk away. What's wrong with entropy? You're saying that's not is that not in accordance with entropy? What happened in that tank?
With entropy, both the helium and the sodium hexafluoride would fill all of the available space. There wouldn't be a layer to them. They would simply mix.
Well, if you pour the sulfur hexafluoride on the bottom, and that's where the sulfur hexafluoride, and then you pour the helium in, the place where the sulfur hexafluoride isn't available space anymore.
Can I ask a question, Jeremy?
No. Put them both in.
Because that's where the sulfur hexafluoride is. You can't have two objects maintaining the same space at
Jeremy,
the same time.
I have a genuine question I want to ask you here. So, if relative density were a thing, why wouldn't all of the denser metals that we've got above the surface of the Earth attempt to get towards, a different layer below the surface of the Earth? If relative density were a thing, then
what a dumb question.
Things like steel would literally dig its way through the surface of the Earth and go towards where it's apparently denser. So why
all the natural steel on Earth?
Natural steel. What are you talking about with natural steel?
I don't know. You said the steel's going to what steel? The steel we made and dropped on the ground? You're asking. Let me address the bigger point. Let me address the bigger point. Hold on. Let me address the bigger point. You're saying, hold on. You're asking why solids don't go through other solids?
No. What I'm asking is why doesn't the denser materials like steel that are denser than the Earth below our feet, why doesn't that steel make its way all the way back to where it's supposedly, denser than the Earth above it?
Yeah, so you're asking why solids don't travel through other solids?
Yeah, pretty much. Why doesn't something denser than Earth make its way through that Earth back to where it's denser?
Because solids don't go through other solids like in the way you're thinking. I don't know what you're thinking about.
Hang on, don't they?
Now solids. Hold on. Now he's saying that solids don't apply to relative density.
No, I'm telling you that solids don't. This fantastical idea of solids going through solids.
Okay, now hang on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link to a website, a YouTube channel called How Ridiculous. Now these guys quite often drop things that are denser than Earth off a 45-meter tower in Australia. Things like they built a Hulk hand made out of fucking solid stainless steel. Now, the solid stainless steel Hulk hand that they made will get its way through, a portion of the Earth. But if relative density were a thing, the density of the steel would continue to drag the steel Hulk hand that they made through the Earth to some place where it's denser than the Earth. Why doesn't that happen?
So you're still asking why solids don't go through other solids?
Pretty much.
Well, that's a ridiculous question.
If relative density were a thing, and if things were denser than, so if the Hulk hand that is denser than the Earth that it's hitting, if the Hulk hand is denser than the Earth that it's hitting, why doesn't that Hulk hand continue through the Earth that it hits? Why does it stop at a certain point?
Because solids don't travel through other solids. Solid is
Why
a
not?
medium.
Why not? According to your relative density bullshit, it should.
That's not how solids work.
That's absolutely, according to relative density, how it should work. Things that are denser. Okay, so if the Hulk
solid
hand
isn't a medium. A solid isn't a meat. A solid isn't.
Jeremy.
A solid isn't a meat. Let me explain.
The solid Hulk. No, don't interrupt me, Jeremy. The solid Hulk fist that they made out of solid stainless steel is denser than the Earth it's digging through. If relative density were a thing, why doesn't the Hulk hand that's solid fucking stainless steel, why doesn't it continue through the Earth, which is less dense than the Hulk hand itself, through to the point where it would meet other steel, as it were? Why does it stop literally a few inches below the Earth, which is less dense than the steel? Why?
Wait, please don't explain this scenario again. I'm begging you. And things,
have you got an explanation?
Hold on. Yes, things don't travel through solids.
Why not? Relative density says that things that are denser than the material or the medium that it's traveling through should continue through the denser, like the less dense medium, correct? Earth is not nearly as dense as stainless steel.
How can you not understand the question? Just answer the question. You in the shower?
You got a hot mic or something, yeah.
Just answer the question, dude.
Here's a
Are you talking to me?
Yeah,
I've answered it like 10 times.
No, it can't happen, but you're not making any sense because according to you, it would happen.
Solids don't travel. Solids don't travel. I've said this about 5 or 10 times now.
Implies that they do.
I've said this about 5 or 10 times now. Solids don't travel through other solids.
I heard you say that, Jeremy, but do you
Let's see. Show me a solid traveling through another solid.
That they do. Well, show me how your relative density theory can be right then. If solids don't pass the solids, you're wrong about relative density.
No, this is ridiculous.
Yes, how can you not understand that, dude? It's pretty simple.
It's a little, huh?
This is the problem with your brain, Jeremy, is you think you have something, but when someone puts a simple logic like this, all you can do is go, no.
This is not logical because we know that solids don't travel through other solids. So how is that logical?
Except the fact that relative density theory implies they do.
All right, this is going to be. See, you guys are getting crazy, and I'm not going to be able to get whole sentences out now.
Just think about what relative density theory says that you guys have. Think about what it says.
No, I'm not. I'm just not going to listen to you guys anymore because what's the point of listening to you if I can't respond? If I can't respond and have an interaction, what's the point of me just listening?
All you have to do is stop saying it can't happen. Instead, just answer the question.
Jeremy, in the debate chat box, and I really want you to, don't even fucking say, oh, it's not DM to me. Look in the debate chat box. Click on the link for that fucking YouTube channel, and then tell me why the solid steel Hulk hand that they made does not continue traveling through the dirt of the Earth through to wherever the fuck it would be more dense as the solid steel Hulk hand. Please explain to me how in the fuck these guys do what they do with relative density.
I've explained it to you about 5 or 6 times now, at least.
I have to agree. This is a poor argument. I have to agree with Jeremy.
Thanks, Jake.
I was trying to help you out, bro. I'm on the only one on your side here.
Go ahead, Jake. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, all that he's saying is the intermolecular bonds of the solid, the forces between the intermolecular bonds exceeds the the force that's generated by the relative density.
I'd like to counter that by saying
nice work.
The density of the solid steel Hulk hand that these guys made is denser than the Earth below it. Therefore, according to relative density, that Hulk hand should continue traveling through the Earth when it's dropped and hits the ground, through the fucking dirt that's less dense than the steel, through to wherever the fuck the point would be.
Please stop explaining the scenario, please.
No,
For the love of
No,
God.
because the electromagnetic bonds between the molecules is stronger than the force generated by the relative density.
No, but Dick, we
Well
understand
said,
why
well
it doesn't
said,
happen,
Jake.
but
Relative density, according to the flat Earth states,
Well
that
said,
any
Jake. Thank
material
you.
is denser
Thank
than
you,
the
Jake.
medium it is traveling through should
trigger. You got him
continue
triggered, Jake.
traveling through that medium until it gets to as
Their
dense a
theory is
point
just relative
as it
density.
is.
The only thing that matters for them is relative density.
Relative density. Yes,
Hold on for
relative
1
density.
second. Hold on, let me just say
Yes.
one thing. Let me just help
Go
you
ahead.
out one way. Let me help you out, Cypher, one way. Jake, what they're saying though is that the relative density theory that's put forward.
You're clipping Veach or something, lagging. I don't know what. You got a bad internet. We can't hear you, Veach. Or is it me?
Jeremy, you claim that solids aren't a
Thanks for having my back on that one, Jake.
So then, what is a medium?
What is a medium? Something. I don't know. I'm not playing your word games.
It's not a word game. You're the one who said gases don't work with density, solids don't work with relative density, and you say mediums can't be solids, and apparently, I guess gases can't be mediums.
Gases aren't a solid. What do you mean? Gases aren't a solid?
I know they're not a solid.
So then why can't a gas be a medium?
Why can't a solid be a medium?
Why can't Earth? Yeah, exactly. Why can't the Earth that the Hulk hand is dropping into be a medium?
The definition for medium is.
No, stop, Chemo. Shut up.
Hold
Chemo.
on, we asked what a medium
Earth,
is. Hold on, we've got an answer for a medium, Cypher.
No, hang on, stop. The Earth that the Hulk hand is hitting is still a medium.
Stop.
Is that? No, shut up, Jeremy. Is the Earth that the Hulk hand is hitting not a medium? Yes or no?
No, a medium is an intervening substance through which sensory impressions are conveyed or physical forces are transmitted. That is a medium.
We didn't hear you, Chemo. We rumpus the shit out of you.
Okay, so let me say it again. A medium.
I'm going to calm down. The Earth that the Hulk hand is hitting. Hang on, Chemo, please let me finish.
The question was asked: what is a medium? Do we know what a medium is? We're on the same page, Cypher.
Would the dirt that the Hulk hand is hitting not be a medium?
No, a medium is an intervening substance. It's a substance.
Earth is certainly not a medium. Is that what you're saying? Dirt is not a medium?
Earth can be a medium.
So can physical forces Can physical forces be transmitted through?
Carnage just said that dirt can be a medium.
Well, if you try to listen, Cypher, of the definition, then you can decide if Earth is a medium or not. So a medium is an intervening substance, through which sensory impressions are conveyed or physical forces are transmitted. That's the medium.
Yeah, so if the thing has enough energy, if you shoot like a bullet into the ground, if it has enough energy, then Earth can be a medium until it stops being a medium, until it stops propagating. If it has enough energy to propagate through the substance, then it's considered a medium.
Go through any.
I like what Jake said with the intermolecular bonds and the force is created.
Yeah,
that was good, Jake. Nice work.
Hold on. What are the intermolecular bonds of sand? Between the particles of sand.
Glass, isn't it? Sand?
How compact is the sand?
They're not glass.
That's not an intermolecular bond.
Yeah, how compact is the sand?
That's sand.
Yeah, how compact is it?
You can put things on top of it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
With sand, it's not intermolecular bonds. Yeah, with sand, it's the friction between the individual grains that would create the restriction of the sliding past one another.
But sand is always less dense than steel.
What's that?
Okay, hold on. But
but the force generated by the relative density of the steel can easily be exceeded by the friction between compacted sand, between the grains of compacted sand.
Yeah, I put a load in already.
That's why somebody's hot mic and Mod needs to mute him.
What about custard then? Yeah, because custard, if you stand on it, you'll sink because you're more dense than the custard. But if you continue moving, you can walk straight across it, no problem.
Well, I've never seen anybody walk on custard, but we know that with quicksand, when you lubricate the sand enough, then you will sink in the quicksand.
I think you're talking about that paint, Highlander. I think you're talking about that paint where they pour into the swimming pool like this, yeah, where they pour this thing.
I've just posted a video of a guy walking on custard.
That's the one, yeah. This paint thing goes solid when you run across it.
You know why?
But yet, if he stops, he will sink into the custard because he is more dense than the custard.
Tell us why, percentage.
Because
we heard percentage is going to tell us why. We heard you.
The weight, if he's just standing there, the weight is going to be centered focused on one specific area, and that'll it'll go over just like Jake said. The force of that will be more than the intermolecular bond.
Just like you can skip a stone, on water. But when it's
when a spider walks on water, yeah.
Well, when a spider walks on water, skipping a stone, you have sideways. You have like the velocity of it going sideways, so it's the weight is going down. The vector of velocity or whatever, of force is going to be sideways.
Well, if you're comparing those two forces, how do you?
He should always sink.
Hold on, I think we've got Boofus. Boofus wants to say something. Boofus.
I was just wondering how do we quantify this? Like, how do we find out how far things sink into the medium? What is the formula for relative density?
That wouldn't be relative density.
You don't need a formula. You can just measure it. You can use different materials, different mediums, different densities of items, and you can just test it and see what it is and measure it. You don't need to have a formula. You guys can't wipe your ass without a fucking formula.
You should better make one.
There
should be one.
Well, I think they could make a formula. I mean, they know how fast things fall through this atmosphere. It falls at a different rate in a different medium. Just check out the medium.
Let me just say, if the medium's density isn't changing, like if you have this unending pit of custard or what have you, and the thing is more dense and it's propagating through it, then it won't ever stop. That would be like density at play.
Using relative density. Oh, you're not going to let me talk. Using relative density alone, what is the force a 1 kilogram mass exerts on the surface it rests on?
Does it rest on?
What do you mean?
What surface is it resting on?
Doesn't matter.
The ground.
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Any surface, just answer the question.
How much force is it exerting on that ground?
Whatever weight, whatever the number is on it.
Surface of water. It falls straight away.
The force. How much is it?
That force won't be the same
what you have to do,
water, will it?
Yeah, well, all you have to do is measure the mass of the objects.
Right, it's not that hard.
Yeah, but using relative density, tell me how you figure out what that force is going to be.
Not a force.
Right, because surely the force changes according to the density of the medium, right?
Of course. So depending on the medium.
Right. So how do we calculate that?
Figure out what
you just take the mass.
I think
you just measure the mass.
Well, how? Because if I just take the mass, how are you taking into account the density of the medium?
Do things weigh the same in water as they do in air?
No, that's the point. You're in this medium, so you're accounting for this medium. If it's a different medium, you get a different number.
Hold on. When you have a 1 kilogram mass, okay, using relative density alone, how about this? You take a 1 kilogram mass and rest it on the bottom of that vacuum chamber. What is that force?
You've changed the medium, so now we got to factor in the medium.
Right.
Which is
what would be the difference between a kilogram at sea level air pressure and a vacuum chamber.
But there is a difference nonetheless.
All right. So according,
I don't know. What is that difference?
Science,
the difference?
If you want to actually do science,
give me some
you
measurements,
have to be
and
able
I'd be able
to predict it. So he's asking you to predict it. So how are you going to predict
the thing
that?
is we're not. The thing is we're not doing science. We're just taking measurements.
Correct. You're not doing
He's
science.
not doing science.
Why did you say science? Why did you say science then?
Because you're not doing it, and I was pointing that out.
No one who claimed to be doing it.
Congrats.
Yeah, it's just an ad hoc piece of crap that you're putting out.